I make a lot of videos on cheating in chess on this channel. I probably make too many in my opinion. But at least I'm not Vladimir Kramnik. Kramnik is a very successful chess player that decided to spend the entirety of his retirement fighting online cheating at the highest level. The problem with this is that it's been several years since Vladimir Kramnik started doing this, and the accuracy of his accusations is incredibly low. This has led to blatant defamation and staining the legitimacy of honest players' careers. There's been a situation brewing between Vladimir Kramnik and David Navara online very recently. And we're going to be taking a look at the situation because it finally looks like it's about to conclude. We have a lot to go through, so if you've seen any of the information being said in the video, there'll be timestamps at the bottom that you can skip through if you need. So with that being said, let's start looking at the story. If we're going to be really thorough, this story goes all the way back from May 21st, 2024, where Vladimir Kramnik tweeted another piece of stats, 2024 All Cheating Tuesdays, accuracy level in center pawns in situations where players had less than 10 seconds on the clock, average of minimum 700 such moves performed, leaderboards top 12, enjoy. In this photo, he shows, where is it? Let me find it, GM Navara as former prodigy. This is David Navara's chess.com account, and he lists a whole bunch of other people as well. What David Navara didn't realize was that Kramnik apparently wasn't accusing him of cheating in this tweet. He didn't make that very clear. Everyone that has red on their FIDE rating, he was accusing of cheating, and everyone that was blue, he thought were legitimate players. This was very not outlined at all, but David Navara made an entire Lee Chess blog post about this. You guys can read this for yourself if you want. I'll leave a link in the description. This is very old and it's very lengthy, so I won't go through it right now, but we'll jump into what the follow-up was, which was this chess.com post by David Navara. I will warn you that this is a very long blog post, so we will be reading this for quite a while. It also gives some context of the previous blog post that we just brushed over. It gives a little introduction to all of that as well, so we can get started reading it. After a year, I decided to write about what happened with my complaint concerning GM Kramnik's statistics and actions. Alas, it is going to be a long text and not nice at all. It all started with the following tweet by GM Kramnik. This is the tweet that we already read, and he says, the tweet contains inaccuracies. For example, Frederick Svein, who was mentioned as an IM, was a 2,636 rated GM back then, with a low historical blitz rating, but quite decent results in his latest blitz tournaments. Grandmaster Kramnik was not exactly accusing me, but his messages find a lot of viewers. If this tweet was read by 200,000 people and 1% of them started to suspect me on its basis, it is 2,000 people, a very high number. I was completely shocked by being put in connection with cheating in such a way. I played 9 Title Tuesdays in the examen period, scoring decently, but not winning a single prize, and performing slightly better over the board. In my opinion, GM Kramnik's piece of stats is just wrong, surely methodologically and possibly even numerically. If you are searching for bot users by examining their play with less than 10 seconds in such a way, it is wrong. First, such bot users would be too fast, too strong, to paraphrase a well-known phrase by Magnus. Why should they regularly get below 10 seconds then, instead of keeping 20 seconds or more almost all the time and laughing at GM Kramnik's statistics? Moreover, I was not exactly too fast, too strong, as I had lost 3 games on time in normal positions in the examen period, something that a bot user would easily avoid. To complete the picture, GM Kramnik was in the middle of his 3-month ban, which he had received for playing Title Tuesdays from another player's account, and there was no one taking responsibility for the statistics given. More on this can be found in the previous text on my blog. I was shocked and angry. My sleep and concentration were heavily affected. I quickly wrote to FIDE, sending them a complaint against GM Kramnik. I believed, and still believe, that GM Kramnik's tweet was clearly wrong, and therefore wanted to react quickly and resolutely. This was perhaps a mistake, as I should have consulted a lawyer before taking action, to learn about the legal aspects first. After I sent my complaint to FIDE, with copies to chess.com staff, a high-ranked FIDE official expressed support for me. Professor Reagan then examined my play as well as play of the other participants of Title Tuesdays. I should not present his data in my own words, but my play with little time left was above average even considering my FIDE rating, but by no means exceptional. It is not too surprising, given that I only played 1/4 of Title Tuesdays from the beginning of 2024 till mid-May, usually when feeling in form. I first heard GM Kramnik's explanation that he was only asking questions only after submitting the complaint. Given how many people interpreted some of those questions as accusations, I believe that GM Kramnik was to a large extent responsible for conveying such a message. When submitting the complaint, I hope to clean my name and reach justice, at least an official apology from GM Kramnik and possibly even a 3-month ban for him. Given his scarce activity in FIDE-rated events back then, it looked like more of a symbolic punishment. Alas, apart from Professor Reagan, there was a total silence on the FIDE side for more than half a year. Given that I do not have social media, I was unable to find the details of GM Kramnik's statistic. In the initial 8 days after seeing GM Kramnik's tweet, I was feeling awful. I wrote many emails to FIDE, bringing arguments in my defense, thinking up possible arguments against me, as I had neither the data nor feedback, and arguments against such arguments, refining them from time to time. Having studied logic, I considered proof by contradiction a natural method. I believed that my messages were factually correct, yet when I looked back at one of them, I found uncharacteristically many typos, an indication that I was not feeling well. Then I played the French League and put this aside. After the league, I was already feeling better, and out of curiosity, looked at some more comments from one server, focusing on comments of people whom I like. Alas, they were sometimes reacting to some annoying nonsense. I think I also saw something like that. Kramnik is against cheaters. Navara is against Kramnik, so maybe he's cheating. I am against cheating. I complained against a duly banned player who was publicly spreading doubts about many players, honest ones and dishonest ones alike. There were other nasty comments as well, even from a player whom I had respected a lot of his playing and analytical skills. After reading these comments, I got very depressed. I had to contact a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist soon after reading GM Kramnik's tweet, as it had put me completely out of balance. In a striking contrast, GM Kramnik got invited to a very well-paid and controversial match against Jose Martinez Alcantara and later to a rematch. Almost from the beginning, I asked for an examination of GM Kramnik's statistic, but neither FIDE nor GM Kramnik cared to reply to my messages. When players complain about getting banned, they often want to know the reason, but the chess servers understandably cannot tell them details, as this would help cheaters avoid the punishment next time. Contrary to this, GM Kramnik's piece of stats, quoted above, contains a concrete description of what is measured and very concrete numbers as well. Just the metric in the right column remains a mystery. Grandmaster Kramnik got rewarded for his controversial statistics by playing 2 very well-paid matches, but when I asked for an examination of his suspect statistic, there was a complete silence. Interesting. It only supports my belief that his piece of stats is just wrong. On June 10th, I wrote to many FIDE officials. At first, I politely apologized for having written too many emails earlier because of the initial shock, and then I gave them many arguments against GM Kramnik's metric, and again, asking for its investigation, but did not get any reply. If you wonder why I wrote to many FIDE officials, I had not been giving instructions from FIDE with whom I should discuss the matter with, and whom not. On June 12th, I corrected some detail and ended with the following sentence. I also find it weird that GM Kramnik gets plenty of money for a scandalous blitz match organized because of his accusations, while some victims of his tweets, like me, suffer a lot from his tweets without deserving such an insult at all. Again, no reply from FIDE. On June 13th, I wrote the following email to chess.com staff and FIDE officials. Dear chess friends, sorry for disturbing you again, but there has been an almost complete silence on the FIDE side. I find it understandable in many respects, yet unpleasant in others. Dear FIDE officials, would you be so kind and tell me whether GM Kramnik's statistic from his controversial tweet will be open to scrutiny, and if I will be able to see the detailed calculations concerning me, given that I am on the 3rd place of the list for some mysterious reasons, although my results in Title Tuesday are pretty normal, and my over-the-board results are rather slightly better. If the statistics will not be open to scrutiny, or shared with me, why not? If I will be able to see it, when approximately? About 3 weeks have passed and there is complete silence in this respect, which is one of the key issues of this case. Obviously, my criticism of GM Kramnik's play under the Krakosia account and some of his less founded earlier public accusations, including some accusations of minors, can be dealt with without this particular statistic. But it seems to me that seeing his detailed calculations would shed a lot of light on the table from the tweet, and its origin and credibility, or rather a lack thereof. Please take into account that I do not use social media, mostly cannot follow them, and cannot defend there against counter-arguments or misinterpretations of my words. Understandably, different people might understand some of my statements in different ways. If you need a clarification of what I mean, what I claim, and why, I am ready to provide it to you at times when I am not playing anything important. I am mostly not playing anything important these days, but really do not want to discuss the issue during the Olympiad when I will be busy playing. This is another aspect where silence from the FIDE side might cause unnecessary problems. Thank you in advance for your quick reply. Have a good day. Yours sincerely, David Navara. No reaction from FIDE followed. On the very next day, I was very depressed, crying for 3 hours. I am not the most mentally stable person since childhood. I had serious problems at the age of 15, including regular suicidal thoughts. They fortunately disappeared, but were returning from time to time in very difficult situations. This very case, again, induced my suicidal thoughts and caused me a lot of pain. There was a real danger that I would commit a suicide in mid-June 2024 because of the circumstances described above. I do want to stress that I firmly believe that suicide is a wrong decision in a vast majority of situations, including mine. I do not write this to criticize people who were desperate and saw no other solution. I just stress this to discourage depressed people from damaging themselves in an irrevocable way. The human life has a great value. It is a gift, and gifts should not be given back. The help came from an unexpected side, at a class reunion. A former schoolmate with whom we had been not big friends supported me a lot with his words, whereas people from FIDE, including my friends, and people who I respect a lot, did not care to write a single sentence, like, "Dear David, we cannot show you GM Kramnik's statistics." Even that would have helped me a lot. In fact, some of them simply did not read those messages, and I cannot blame them for doing so, but if the whole FIDE ignores such messages, it feels very odd. Then I wrote the following message on July 2nd. "Dear FIDE officials, I hope you're doing well. Would you be so kind and reply to my previous message from June 13th? Since that unfortunate tweet of GM Kramnik, I have been suffering from various psychosomatic problems, obviously including insomnia. It is 2:25 a.m. right now, and depressions, or at least big oscillations of mood, struggling to regain the balance. I had to consult specialists because of that. I understand that I wrote too many messages in the first week, but getting no reply from FIDE does not exactly help me feel better. I am pretty sure that the infamous statistic by GM Kramnik is wrong, but it is hard to prove that when I do not know the details and I do not know where to find them. I am afraid that a random search of the videos by GM Kramnik could further deteriorate my mood. I have no access to Twitter/X and do not plan to create an account there anytime soon. Thank you for understanding. Have a good day. Yours sincerely, David Navara." I made it pretty clear in my messages that I was suffering a lot, basically calling out for help. One recipient replied with some words of support, adding that she did not have a formal position within FIDE and was thus unable to answer my question. All the FIDE officials ignored my question and my message. I should mention that Professor Reagan was communicating with me, whereas the rest of FIDE stayed silent. On July 22nd, I added GM Kramnik's address from the FIDE website to the list, just clarifying some things. I repeated my reservations against his statistic. He could have defended it, but stayed silent. Around that time, his address disappeared from the FIDE website, but my message was not marked as undelivered. On December 12th, I wrote to FIDE once again, and my message ended with this. "In my opinion, it is very logical to ask for these data, and I did so twice." At the same time, apologizing for having written too many messages after being shocked by GM Kramnik's tweet. The reaction of FIDE felt very disrespectful, as FIDE or its officials did not care to even write me a single sentence, like, "Sorry, we can't show this data to you." Whereas I was struggling with strong depressions initiated by this GM Kramnik's weird tweet and fueled by its repercussions in the online sphere. I have been suffering for 6 months for no reason. Luckily, by far not all the time, but I occasionally still get very angry or very sad when thinking about it. I apologize for opening this topic now, before Christmas. I had been playing almost all the time since the Olympiad and had no time to write this earlier. Personally, I would prefer to deal with it in the second half of January as it is an explosive topic. But at the same time, I do not understand why should I suffer from all of this for so long. I understand that GM Kramnik's behavior might be undesirable but legal within the legal framework of FIDE, but I think that FIDE should investigate his statistics and make a statement on them. It feels wrong when GM Kramnik earns a crazy amount of money while playing controversial matches, whilst honest players suffer from his accusations and from FIDE's non-responsiveness. Then a reply from a FIDE legal director came. I understand that quoting him here might be controversial, but I have many good reasons to do so. 1, it shows that FIDE did not find my online games suspicious. 2, it confirms that FIDE did indeed not reply to my earlier messages, which otherwise could not have been proved by quoting any number of mails. The message is hard to understand, and I do not want it to be misinterpreted. It presents the reasons for not reacting, and those reasons are extremely controversial in my view. I would understand if FIDE judged my complaint, would impose no sanctions against GM Kramnik, and write that my results entitled Tuesday were not extraordinary. But what happened is that FIDE hinted to me after almost 7 months that my complaint is formally wrong, without even caring to mention the reason. The whole case, topped by these 2 emails, almost pushed me to a suicide, and I think that it is in public interest to know the details. Given that not a single word of apology from FIDE came, I have reasons to be worried that they could act in a similar way if a similar situation occurred again, possibly with even worse consequences. Here is the message from December 12th. Dear David, as a FIDE legal director, I would like to clarify the following. As you know, the only body within FIDE that has the right to apply the disciplinary penalties is the FIDE Ethics and Disciplinary Commission. This body needs a formal complaint for every case. See Art 3.8 of the code. 3.8 The EDC has no power to investigate on breaches of this code on its own initiative, but shall open a case, investigate, and judge on it after receiving an admissible complaint by a person. In the event that you believe GM Kramnik violated the norms of the Code of Ethics, you have the right to file a complaint on your behalf, specifying specific charges and evidences. The basic requirements to the complaint may be found in the Code of Ethics Art 5. Also, norms of the Rule 8 of the EDC procedural rules are applied. Sincerely, position with FIDE name. It starts with, as you know, when sending the complaint on May 18th, I did not know whom I should have contacted, and wrote to plenty of FIDE members from various commissions, using the addresses from the FIDE website. The list included Mr. Francis Sturdom, the head of Ethics Commission back then, as well as Mr. Dvorkovic's, the FIDE president, and many other important people within FIDE. FIDE did not inform me of whom I should communicate with and whom not, and had not suggested at all that there could be something wrong in this respect. I looked at the FIDE ethics code and it contained many nice passages, including the following one. FIDE members undertake at all times to respect and ensure respect of the following values and principles: human dignity, equality, safety, integrity, good faith, loyalty, fair play, responsibility, priority of interest of chess above personal financial interests, and communication and transparency. I do not want to comment on all of the points, I just want to make one remark concerning some of them. At the end of March, it became publicly known that GM Kramnik had played at least one Title Tuesday from the account of GM Kismatulin, which is a fair play violation. As far as I know, GM Kramnik did not apologize for that. FIDE has power, and with it comes responsibility. That said, GM Kramnik was listed as a FIDE committee member on the FIDE website even in July, more than 3 months later. FIDE had the opportunity to give a signal to him and other players by dismissing him from that commission, thus stressing points B, D, G, and H given above, and also demonstrating the neutrality, which is mentioned in the mail below. Here is my reply. Dear Mr. Surname, thank you for the information. Not being a lawyer, I struggle with such documents. If I understand it properly, not sure at all, my appeal lacks some formal requirements. Would you be so kind and tell me which requirements are missing? Thank you in advance. I will look at it and probably take some time to decide what to do next and whether I am going to submit the appeal again. This time, legally correctly. After all, I am very busy these days, and I guess that so are you, with one World Championship just ending and another 2 beginning soon, and not willing to spoil the festive atmosphere of the coming weeks. That said, if my appeal was indeed formally wrong, I am wondering why FIDE tells me this only now, after keeping me struggling with occasional depressions, including severe ones, for 6 months. I asked FIDE about those statistics of GM Kramnik 6 months ago, and then once again, and got no reply at all until today, except for a display of solidarity from a former FIDE member. Dear FIDE members, please think how you would feel if you were treated like this. Thank you for your understanding. Have a good evening. Best regards, David Navara. And this was the reply. Dear David, unfortunately I have no formal right to comment or correct complaints to the Ethics Commission, as I must be as neutral as possible, and the help of one of the parties will be considered a clear violation of neutrality. I will only allow you to add that I personally consider you as the most fair and correct player, and this is not only my opinion, but also of the entire chess world. Therefore, without going into the details of GM Kramnik's posts and calculations, I would sincerely advise you to put this situation out of your mind. Your reputation in the chess world is absolutely unambiguous, and all my colleagues agree with this. Sincerely, Alexander. As far as I could understand the intriguing message of the FIDE legal director, I was not allowed to complain about what GM Kramnik said about Tikhon Shanayev, nor about GM Kramnik playing Title Tuesday from GM Kismatulin's account. While I understand that people from FIDE cannot tell me how to write a complaint, if they had told me these important facts in June, I would not have written another version, as these circumstances were the main reason why I complained. I should stress that the FIDE legal director's messages would be fine in themselves, but just added to my suffering after more than 6 months of painful silence. The legal director was not among the people whom I had addressed in the previous messages, and who stayed silent then. In my opinion, one should maintain neutrality once there is a valid complaint. If my complaint was invalid, why would the whole FIDE have to stay silent? The whole issue from the beginning to the end felt so unjust and painful that I planned to publish the whole story, submit an appeal against Mr. Dvorkovich, and commit a suicide soon after. Being a religious person, I planned to wait until mid-January as Western Christmas, Hanukkah, and Orthodox Christmas, as well as the World Rapid and Blitz Championships were coming. Then I quite unexpectedly reached my second highest Blitz rating on Lichess. Given that both my December over-the-board Blitz tournaments did not go well, I took no action, as I could appear suspect. Then I had some poor results on Lichess, but felt too tired to write, so eventually I gave up the vicious idea and continued playing as before. I am not sure what would have happened if some circumstances were a bit different. Anyway, the correspondence is telling. I do not plan to submit a new appeal either. I just want people to know what happened. And if you wonder why I'm writing now, I recently gave an explosive interview to the New in Chess podcast. I was hesitating till the very day how open and critical I should be, but when I read the correspondence without FIDE again, I came to the conclusion that I had to speak out. This long text is an attempt to present the topic in a bit calmer and more structured way. When joining FIDE, Mr. Vorkovich used the slogan, "Because we care." I would like to thank him for the good things in which he has done for FIDE. In my opinion, Mr. Vorkovich is personally responsible for the way how FIDE treated me. He was among the recipients of the most messages on the topic, including the ignored calls for help. Given that he is FIDE president, no other member could have forbidden him to reply. He could have delegated to someone. The actions of FIDE, or lack thereof, caused me a lot of suffering. Although my games and results in Title Tuesday were completely in order, I was open about my health problems in my desperate calls for help. Yet FIDE did not care at all to react and answer my questions, which were perfectly reasonable, nor to send me a single word of apology. I firmly believe that Mr. Vorkovich should resign. If you thought we were reading for a long time just then, we're going to be reading a little bit more now because in response to that, Vladimir Kramnik made a 47-minute video called To David Navara. I'm not going to make you sit through that, and somebody on Reddit has basically broken it all down in very good detail, so we can just read it together to kind of figure out what he actually said in that video in response to David Navara. Vladimir Kramnik addresses artificial scandal and legal implications of David Navara's claims. Grandmaster Vladimir Kramnik has publicly addressed what he terms an artificial slander, currently unfolding in the world of chess. In a recent video, Kramnik specifically refuted claims made against him by Grandmaster David Navara. Despite his lawyers advising against recording on the matter, Kramnik stated he felt compelled to do so for the general public and primarily for Navara, expressing hope that Navara would heed his proposal presented at the video's conclusion. Kramnik conveyed profound sadness regarding the prevailing situation in the chess world, noting a year-long pattern of continuous attacks, defamation, insults, and threats directed at him. These, he claims, stem simply from his efforts to publish statistical data and tell the truth. He believes this moment marks an opportune time to start putting an end to this by initiating legal claims. Kramnik asserted the contemporary chess media is very much controlled by certain structures, creating an Alice in Wonderland reality really disconnected him from actual events. He suggested that some chess players and media personalities operate under the mistaken belief of unlimited impunity, assuming that they will always be shielded when attacking him. However, Kramnik vehemently stressed that the real world is very different. Kramnik then focused on a letter published on chess.com by Navara, which coincidentally appeared just days after Kramnik announced filing a complaint with the European Union regulators concerning chess.com. He unequivocally guaranteed that many claims and statements within Navara's letter were factually inaccurate and invented out of nothing. This alignment of events led Kramnik and his legal team to suspect an organized attack, which in his opinion is very much connected with my complaint to the European regulators. While acknowledging this was merely his guess, he underscored that such a connection would render the situation even more legally serious. His lawyers, he explained, advised him that the matter could fall under both civil law for defamation and criminal law according to the Swiss statutes. They strongly recommended pursuing both civil and criminal avenues, a course of action Kramnik stated he would probably undertake unless his final proposal was accepted. A significant and recurring theme in Kramnik's statement was his genuine concern for Navara. Kramnik expressed sorrow for Navara, believing he was just being used as a tool by people who want to achieve their objectives. He issued a stark warning to Navara. If the situation escalates, Navara would inevitably face a judge one-on-one. Kramnik predicted that all individuals currently cheering him on now, who are pretending to be his friends, pushing him on, they will disappear immediately. Navara, Kramnik cautioned, would then confront a very, very serious situation, while acknowledging he is not the ultimate decision-maker. Kramnik stated that his legal team sees very, very serious reasons to believe that it can cause significant legal troubles for Navara, leaving him with very little you can say in your defense. Kramnik reiterated that he harbors absolutely no wish to harm Navara, neither now or in the past. However, he emphasized that his own name is getting damaged, and the forces which are very happy for David Navara to make these claims are going to use it to their fullest. He pointed to plenty of articles lately, very, very damaging to my character and image, asserting that this damage is real and includes financial damage. His legal team explained that while his primary claim is against the media outlets propagating this, absolute absurd case, Navara, as the main protagonist and the source of the published claims, would likely be held the main person responsible. Kramnik sincerely urged Navara to recognize that he is, in Kramnik's opinion, a pawn in this not clean game at all, getting used and pushed into very big legal troubles. He warned that the damage Navara's complaints are inflicting is enormous, and they have very little chance to stand in court, with potentially very, very serious consequences from a court decision. Kramnik stressed this was not a threat but a sincere warning, offering Navara a chance to retract his words. If Navara complies, Kramnik stated he would then pursue legal action solely against the media platforms that refuse to retract and delete all these false statements. Otherwise, he asserted, he would be left with no other option to protect my name. Kramnik meticulously addressed specific points from Navara's letter, aiming to highlight the legal gravity of each assertion, particularly for Navara's understanding. He contrasted the world of media that cheers them, protects them, and tells them fairy tales, in which chess players supposedly live, with the harsh reality of legal proceedings where one must be responsible for what you are saying. He dismissed the notion that opinions from figures like Gotham Chess or Hikaru would hold any sway in court, where only the facts matter, and decisions might be very tough. Kramnik began by addressing Navara's reference to a tweet he published, which simply presented statistical data. He explained that these numbers were derived from an internal application developed by his team, utilizing Stockfish, and were completely correct according to their calculations. He emphasized his full responsibility for these statistics, contrary to Navara's false statements, and noted his consistent readiness to provide detailed explanations. Kramnik highlighted a particular strange picture in the data, a player with a rating below 2400 exhibiting the most precise play with 10 seconds remaining, even surpassing Magnus Carlsen. He found this alarming and indicative of a need for investigation, yet instead he faced attacks, shame, and blame and insult. He found it absurd to be criticized for publishing true statistics, in a world where, for instance, top tennis players like Federer are subjected to rigorous unannounced anti-doping tests without complaint. Kramnik argued that his objective presentation of data, without explicitly accusing anyone, was absolutely normal, and would be seen such in a court of law. Kramnik vehemently denied Navara's assertion that he had sought an examination of Kramnik's statistics from FIDE, or Kramnik himself, only to be ignored. Kramnik labeled this claim provable defamation and a lie, stating, "You never contacted me, David. Never." He affirmed that he would have immediately answered and explained the statistics, and was not even aware of Navara's alleged attempts until recently. He pointed out the ease of contact through chess.com, telephone, or even in person at the Olympiad. Furthermore, Kramnik challenged Navara's opinion that his piece of stats is just wrong, surely methodologically and possibly even numerically. Kramnik highlighted Navara's own admission in the letter that he didn't even dare to check anything about the statistics. Kramnik stressed that in court, Navara would be required to prove it, which he asserted Navara will not. He warned that making several statements like this, and one or two, are very, very serious, and could have serious consequences legally. This was presented as a particularly grave aspect of Navara's claims. Navara's letter stated that Kramnik's weird tweet and its repercussion in the online sphere had induced my suicidal thoughts, and that there was a real danger I would commit suicide in mid-June of 2024, because of the circumstances described above. Kramnik declared this statement is not true and very, very serious illegally. He then presented a direct contradiction from Navara's own podcast, where Navara explicitly stated he had suicidal thoughts in mid-January, months earlier than the date in the letter, due to the silence, 7 months of silence of FIDE, and not due to Kramnik's actions. Kramnik argued that Navara, or whoever prepared his text, was twisting it in a way to make me actually be responsible for, that it was caused by me. He underscored the extreme seriousness of this accusation, citing specific articles from the Swiss Criminal Code. Kramnik emphasized that nobody can do it, and that he would be forced to proceed legally if Navara did not retract, disclaiming responsibility for the court's decision. Kramnik also addressed Navara's claims of suffering from insomnia and depressions, or at least big fluctuations of mood, requiring specialist consultation. Kramnik warned that in court, Navara would need to prove it with the official, visit to the doctor, his final explanation, his final prescription. Otherwise, it would be considered defamation again. Yeah, false statement. He also found Navara's admission that a random search of the videos by Grandmaster Kramnik could have further deteriorated my mood. To be weak, especially when Navara was simultaneously blaming Kramnik for wrong statistics without daring to investigate them himself. Furthermore, Kramnik took issues with Navara's statement. It feels wrong when Kramnik earns crazy money while playing controversial matches. Kramnik pointed out that chess.com was seriously involved in organizing such matches, suggesting the criticism should be directed there. He also found the comment not very decent, especially considering the threats my family was receiving, and the harshest insults he himself had endured due to Navara's statements. He highlighted the disparity, stating Navara had not experienced even 5% of what I am experiencing right now, objectively. He concluded that Navara's portrayal of himself as a victim while making such damaging claims against Kramnik was beyond some limits. Kramnik also criticized Navara's statement that FIDE emails almost pushed me to suicide, reiterating the legal seriousness of such an accusation. He found Navara's ultimate blame of Mr. Dvorkovich, FIDE president, for his suffering to be an accusation that you cannot legally do. In his concluding remarks, Kramnik reiterated that his legal team is preparing an extremely strong case, and that he is completely confident in my position. He urged Navara or any lawyer to review the video and understand the gravity of the situation. Despite his lawyer's strong recommendation to proceed with litigation, Kramnik stated he personally does not want to engage in such proceedings, calling it, "It's not my cup of tea." Therefore, Kramnik presented a final proposal to Navara to avoid legal action against him personally. This proposal consists of 3 key elements. 1. Public refutation of untrue statements. Navara must publicly retract and refute the inaccurate statements and numerous claims he made in his letter. Public apologies. Navara must publish public apologies directed at Vladimir Kramnik. Disclosure of influencing forces. Navara must disclose any individuals or forces who are behind you, pushing you to do this or advise you to do all of this. Kramnik expressed his desire to avoid damaging Navara, but emphasized his unwavering commitment to defending his name. He concluded by expressing his sincere hope that Navara would take the right decision to close this chapter and, well, just never get back to it again. Now, this video is going to be long already, so I want to include this full interview into the video. It was taken at the World Blitz Championship in 2025, and it is also relevant to the topic. The title of this Reddit post is David Navara on the Kramnik incident. After I heard Kramnik's reaction to my letter, I slept really poorly. The reason I want to include this is because we all know who Vladimir Kramnik is, but I feel like a lot of people watching this video won't know who David Navara is, so this interview will hopefully give you a decent insight.
I'm here with David Navara, the strongest chess-playing David in the world. Maybe you can tell us about your day today.
I had a crazy day, and I started with a draw against an underrated Mongolian player. Then I lost deservedly a game where I had advantage, but the opponent defended well, and my time management was too bad, and then I unexpectedly won against Rishi Anand, which was very nice, especially considering my previous poor results. And eventually I won in an eventful game against Daniel Howard Fernandez. I had serious advantage at some point, but then I miscalculated a bit, and then I sacrificed the queen incorrectly and could have even got into problems. But eventually I won an interesting rook endgame. So, and thank you for the compliment. I think in Blitz you are the strongest, David, or maybe David Anton Guijarro is also pretty strong. So.
Yeah. There's a few of us Davids out there. We're trying to conquer the world between us. And how are you enjoying being in London, being part of a team? How's the team spirit?
Yes, it's nice. The team is very young, so I'm almost the oldest participant, so far the oldest player of the team. And it's nice to be in London. We did some sightseeing today, which was perhaps good because my yesterday's results were so poor that any change could only improve them. So it's nice to be here. Thank you.
Okay, what was your favorite site in London?
I saw just a few sites, but did not have much time. I saw Big Ben, Westminster Abbey, and a few others, the House of Parliament, but I mean, I'm not really good at sightseeing, so I still have some time to improve this, maybe.
And your win against Vichy, have you beaten him before, or was this the first time?
I beat him once in the rapid part of the tournament in Shamkir, and he beat me in Blitz back then. So I think he has +1 score against me.
but you're closing the gap now.
Oh no! Now it's the score is equal.
Okay, nice. And David, I have to ask, the chess world, we all saw your letter recently. I just want to ask if you're doing better. How's life been for you lately?
I am doing better, but I mean, after I published it and I heard about the reaction of GM Kramnik, I was sleeping very poorly and I was very stressed. I mean, there was one inaccuracy because I believed that I had sent him some email, but I chose wrong address, so I was mostly writing to FIDE, and also I published some messages on leeches. So I apologize for this inaccuracy, but for nothing else, because I believe that in almost everything else I'm right. I mean, maybe there is some other irrelevant inaccuracy, but I made it quite clear that I thought that his statistics should be investigated. It was published on leeches on chess.com, so everyone can see it. And okay, today I made an incorrect queen sacrifice, so I'm wondering whether someone is going to sue me or to accuse me for making incorrect queen sacrifice. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Yeah, David, I just want to say I'm such a big supporter and fan of yours. I think the whole chess world is on your side, so yeah, I'm glad you're doing better, and I hope everything resolves itself in a way you want.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Best of luck with the rest.
Now, in response to all of this and David Navara's unwillingness to do anything that Vladimir Kramnik wanted him to, Vladimir Kramnik sued him. This is a tweet from Vladimir Kramnik that says civil defamation/slander case against chess.com and personally Mr. Navara registered today in Tribunal de Genevieve. Now, I don't read French. I assume that this is in French, but this is what he attached to this tweet. You guys can pause and read it if you do speak French. He sued David Navara. The situation got so bad that Levon Aronian stepped into Twitter and wrote, "Dear Vladimir Kramnik, forgive me for addressing you publicly, but I feel that the chess world and the new generation need to know about who you are, and I want you to remember it as well. Vlad, you have always been an inspiration to me, and the majority of people who know you, as just like you, dedicated their lives to chess. The first time I ever got to spend a longer time with you was in Paris in 2005. I visited you for a short time to train with you, but soon I understood that a person with such a fanatical approach is far from my personality, that I can't even learn to work like that and be so deeply dedicated to chess. During that time, you were recovering from some health issues, and the world was bullying you for not being a dominating, proper champion, despite you winning 2 world championship matches against none other than Kasparov and Leko, who you beat in the last game. Then came your match with Topalov in 2006, where you showed so much character after a scandalous toilet gate that to me was another act of bullying against you. Honestly, around that time, after you won, I felt this heroism that you displayed in those years kind of nullified the unfair circumstances that led you to the match against Kasparov in 2000. It was a sign that you are here to change the game. Then your brilliant career continued, and your opening innovations and incredible spirit, in my opinion, make you a top 10 player in the history of chess. In my view, 6th or 7th. So in my eyes, you will always be someone who was bullied and fought fairly for justice. I will never forget how many times you gave me your helping hand and advised me, how many times you have pushed me towards chess when I was in a state of despair. If I exclude my first coaches, you together with Borja Gelfand and Gabi Sargsyan are my chess parents, and I think that most of my chess DNA comes from you. My dear friend, I want to share something that I feel I haven't shared yet with you. The last few years after you retired, to my surprise, I saw a different Vlad that I never knew. Vlad that may be because the new chess world does not appreciate you enough. Sports fans and organizations unfortunately have a very short memory. A person who faced so much public pressure has turned against the chess world. Vlad, brother, ask all of your chess friends. Nobody thinks what you are doing is good and pure. You are fighting your own demons, and I can understand how much it drains you both mentally and physically. A long time ago, I read somewhere that most of the murders are committed because of disrespect. Vlad, guys like Danya and David are not the ones you should be having a vendetta against. I love them for what they are, perhaps a bit introverted, but lacking any side of evil in them. I know you as the biggest revolutionary when it comes to chess. You challenged every single dogma and proved that you understand the core of chess like nobody before or after you. I ask you, as a friend who has always been open and honest to you, please challenge your convictions. You think you are saving chess from cheaters, but most of us see you as the guy with a hammer who thinks everything is a nail. We are family. We can't go on suing or threatening each other for some weird online analysis that in most cases doesn't make sense. We all have many friends in the world of mathematics. If you want, let's unite everyone and make a proper, unbiased analysis. But let us start from a fresh page. Your friend, your fan, and your little brother, Lev. On Twitter, Kramnik responded with, "Dear Levon, I am ready to continue our conversation. The problem with the entire chess world, and as I see from your letter, yours in particular, is that certain well-known entities have taken control of the media space, have so thoroughly muddled everyone's mind that even a smart person like you has started to believe in these myths, completely detached from reality, spread by these influencers and other members of the chess crowd. Lever, dear, wake up already. Your perception of the situation, my motives, and the actual state of affairs is completely and fundamentally wrong. To quote a classic, don't read a Soviet newspaper before lunch. In this context, listen less to the chess crowd and various Botez Gothams, or at least verify the information. Dear friend, why are you so sure that I'm doing this all alone, without the help of professionals? Why did you describe that I am out for revenge, that personal ambitions or ego are involved here? Did Danny and Eric whisper to you? And what else are they and their cronies supposed to say when they have no real response? Admit that the 2 reports on their Golden Boys streaks are obviously false, and that their analysis of the streaks through ChatGPT was incorrect? Or should FIDE admit that their chief anti-cheating expert couldn't correctly calculate ELO performance in the important Shevchenko case? That the great Professor Rosenthal was mistaken, not to mention a host of other glaring absurdities in nearly a third of the streaks he later analyzed. They either never existed or were artificially inflated with an extra draw added. That I've long since published this, sent letters to the outlet, to the University of Toronto, and personally wrote to the great professional himself. That for a year now I've been saying I'm ready to publicly prove this at any moment and I'm open to discussion. But the professor and chess.com run from me like an antelope from a lion, never once responding. That a year ago I proposed that chess.com conduct an analysis by hiring a group of the world's best independent mathematicians with the sole condition that they be independent, and I'm even willing to cover the costs if they lack the funds, but they ignored it as always. That I'm actually working with 2 groups of professionals in this field, one of which is from a major company with specialists far superior than all of the chess Reagans combined. That we have an application with a massive database where every tournament, move, and parameter has been analyzed, showing that many anomalies are unreal. That I have an analysis from a major Western company in this field on numerous videos involving eye tracking, with very interesting factual data about certain respected members of the chess crowd. Admit that these statistics they feed their believers don't add up, fall apart, and can be disproven. Their only way out is to convince all their gullible simpletons that they are professionals, unlike this malicious chess player. And for months, to dodge any factual discussion under the guise of secrecy about their great anti-cheating specialists, sometimes 10, sometimes 40, depending on the mood during their day's interview. Oh, and they professionally throw buckets of mud to discredit and portray me as a paranoid dilettante with an oversized ego. All means are fair when Sterlitz is on the verge of failure, right? And naive simpletons ready to start chanting 4 legs good, 2 legs bad at the critical moment are quite handy. Lever, you and the rest of the chess crowd can continue ignoring facts and looking at reality through the distorted mirror they've handed you. But reality doesn't care what you think about it in your circle. It will come crashing in regardless of your perceptions. And if nothing is done, it won't be pretty. That's why it's hard for me to prove anything to those who are so brainwashed that they refuse to acknowledge facts, even when they're obvious, as in recent cases of slander against me, and continue to stubbornly talk about the aggressor who dared to point out the factual lies of the innocent lamb. Lever, I respect you and some other chess players, but I respect facts and logic even more. If the chess world is in such a state now that the facts and logic are not valued, there's only one choice left: to act through the world of jurisprudence. You simply leave me no other choice with your persistent denial of reality. With best wishes, Vladimir Kramnik. Levon responded with, I'm not you at all and never have been. I wrote to you after a great deal of thought and only because of a sense of friendly duty. I have no right to demand anything from you. I just want to remind you that it's usually the defenders of the downtrodden who start building a new world, first by destroying it to its foundations. By summoning Navara to court, you won't punish all the people who showed you disrespect. No, you'll punish David, a good person who is perhaps more sensitive and more easily hurt than others. I've always known you as a deep player, one who always asks himself, what is the position about? It seems to me this is a position that calls for subtle play, and the opportunities for creation haven't been lost yet. Following this, Vladimir Kramnik decided to write a formal letter to FIDE and post it on his Twitter. This letter said, Dear President Vorkovich, dear members of the FIDE Presidential Board. As you are aware, since 2023, I have dedicated significant time and effort to combating the serious threat to the integrity of the game, cheating. While I understand that some of you may hold differing views on my efforts, I firmly believe that FIDE's current measures to address cheating are insufficient. Despite my repeated attempts to present compelling statistical evidence of widespread cheating online, and to some extent in over-the-board play, these submissions have been met with dismissal and a lack of substantive response. Furthermore, I have faced unwarranted criticism and direct defamation PR attacks from chess.com and its affiliates, which has hindered constructive dialogue. This lack of engagement has compelled me to publicly share my researches, including statistically significant and, at times, mathematically irrefutable anomalies. I stand ready to substantiate my findings with rigorous mathematical analysis. While FIDE is within its rights to choose not to review or dispute my research, I respectfully urge the organization to refrain from criticizing those who prioritize facts and mathematical evidence over unsubstantiated opinions. Unfortunately, a recent PR campaign launched just days ago, coinciding with my public announcement of an official complaint to the EU regulators regarding potential violations of several major EU laws, has targeted me with unwarranted aggression and injustice. In response to this, I have decided to take resolute measures to defend myself. On May 23, 2025, Grandmaster David Navara published an open letter on chess.com launching an unprecedented attack on FIDE President Arkady Dvorkovich, and myself in particular. Whilst I am not privy to the details of GM Navara's claims or his correspondence with FIDE, I can assert that his allegations regarding our personal interactions are baseless and constitute deliberate defamation. I have already factually refuted most of these claims, highlighting specific inaccuracies and misrepresentations in my publications on X and the Kramnik YouTube channel, with further clarifications to follow. While I sympathize with any personal challenges GM Navara may have faced since his youth, as he has publicly noted, this does not justify engaging in unfair and highly damaging actions. The false statements and unjustified personal attacks made by GM Navara have caused significant reputational harm, exacerbated by certain dishonest chess media outlets that swiftly launched what appears to be a coordinated and aggressive defamation campaign. Moreover, these actions have inflicted considerable psychological distress on my family members, compelling me to respond decisively and without further delay. While I respect that Mr. Navara may be dealing with personal challenges, his emotional well-being is not the only consideration. My family, including my children, also deserve to have their emotional well-being protected, which carries equal weight. In an effort to be understanding and handle this matter with sensitivity, despite facing unfair accusations and misrepresentations, I published an open letter on my X account, which I believe you have seen. In it, I offered Mr. Navara a peaceful resolution, proposing that he acknowledge his errors, retract his demonstrably false statements, and withdraw his severe accusations against me, thereby avoiding any legal consequences. As outlined in my video titled To David Navara, the statements made by Mr. Navara, which we believe to be deliberately defamatory based on factual evidence, including our correspondence, could have serious legal consequences under Swiss law. Slander is considered a criminal offense in Switzerland, potentially punishable by up to 3 years of imprisonment. In good faith, I have sought to explain these potential consequences to Mr. Navara and encourage him to accept my offer in a peaceful resolution, which would serve his best interest by avoiding legal repercussions. Following the significant harm caused by Mr. Navara's statements and the subsequent aggressive PR campaign targeting me and causing trouble to my family members, I genuinely believe that my offer as a peaceful resolution was a generous gesture towards him. To my surprise, and this brings me to my main point of this letter, on the morning of May 29, 2025, FIDE CEO Emil Sutovsky published a post on his X account that I find deeply concerning and inappropriate in several respects. Emil Sutovsky said, "I find Kramnik's latest address to David Navara quite outrageous. No more than that. Inhumane. You might be in your right legally, or maybe you are not. But one has to go over the edge to attack like that a person who clearly exposed his major mental struggles. I really think it gets too far. No matter who is right legally and whose wording was more imprecise, there was nothing in this particular dispute that is worthy of such an assault on a fragile person, let alone colleague. Let us show some support for David. He needs it." I find the blaming and insulting statements in FIDE CEO Emil Sutovsky's recent X post to be wholly inappropriate, particularly in light of the factual evidence I have presented demonstrating the falsehood of many of Mr. Navara's claims. This situation is especially distressing given the significant emotional toll that these events have taken on me and my family members. Furthermore, Grandmaster Navara's open letter included several severe statements directed at multiple FIDE representatives, and in my opinion, unjustifiably demanded the resignation of FIDE President Arkady Dvorkovich. While I acknowledge the selective empathy shown by Emil Sutovsky in his X post, his decision to ignore these attacks without comment while offering unconditional support to Mr. Navara, who, despite any personal challenges he may face, which we all hope he soon overcomes, has made such offensive remarks against several individuals is, in my opinion, difficult to justify. In my open letter published on X on May 28, 2025, I clearly stated that I would initiate legal action if the reasonable conditions outlined therein are not met. As I am currently preparing pre-trial demand letters, I respectfully request clarification on whether the statements made by FIDE CEO Emil Sutovsky on his X post on May 29, 2025 represent the official position of FIDE or his personal views. This information is essential to ensure that my forthcoming demand letter is addressed appropriately. I respectfully request that FIDE take the following actions. 1. Investigate the role played by FIDE CEO Emil Sutovsky in this unfortunate situation, as outlined in this letter, including his verbal and written correspondence with David. 2. Evaluate whether Mr. Sutovsky's actions, which raise concerns about his commitment to FIDE's objectives and his suitability for the role within the organization, align with the responsibilities expected of a senior official. Given that this is not the first controversial situation involving FIDE due to Mr. Sutovsky's actions, such as the recent gene scandal, I respectfully suggest that FIDE consider whether Mr. Sutovsky's continued tenure as CEO is consistent with the organization's commitment to professionalism and integrity. With respect, Vladimir Kramnik. Following this, FIDE made a statement on Twitter, which we can also read. As the world governing body of chess, FIDE takes the issue of fair play, both over the board and online, very seriously, especially considering the current widespread popularity of the online platforms and their impact on the growth and development of the game worldwide. In this regard, the methods publicly proposed by GM Vladimir Kramnik deserve careful review and assessment for practical applicability. FIDE will establish a dedicated task force to evaluate these methods and invites GM Kramnik to present the details of his approach and statistical data for official FIDE evaluation. At the same time, we are gravely concerned that the way Mr. Kramnik presents his points brings a lot of harm to the chess community. Mr. Kramnik must recognize that it is not just his opinion or questions. It is a very clear narrative, and coming from the former world champion, it could be ruinous for the careers and a very well-being of certain players. The current discourse has significantly affected such a respected member of the chess community as GM David Navara has now led to a defamation lawsuit being filed by GM Kramnik against GM Navara. We wish to empathize once again that throughout his chess career, GM Navara has earned an unquestionable reputation as a paragon of fair play. The chess community is well aware that David is a person of a great sensitivity and integrity, particularly vulnerable to any implication of unfair play. Without entering into legal or stylistic analyses of the statements made, we believe that, above all, mutual respect and empathy among colleagues must take precedence. We are firmly convinced that the lawsuit against GM Navara should be withdrawn as soon as possible in the interest of the entire chess community. We sincerely hope that GM Kramnik will take this morally justified step, which we believe will be welcomed by the broader chess world. FIDE Management Board. Usually I write a script to end off these videos once I've gone through all of the information, and I kind of write my own opinion down so I can just remember what I want to say. I'm not very good at thinking off the top of my head, so usually I write things down. But for this video, I genuinely thought it was difficult to get through. Like, I don't have this problem with other videos. I've done multiple videos on Vladimir Kramnik before. I've never had this problem before, where I genuinely found it difficult to get through everything. We did a lot of reading, of course. This video is going to end up being quite long. But I had to cut so much. I genuinely had to cut out so much of this video because I found it so difficult to read what I was reading. Like, just the topics, just how raw it all was, how real it all was, and how, you know, in a different universe, maybe David Navara isn't here anymore. And that's just, it's just a very sad, depressing situation. And what's even more sad is the unwillingness of Vladimir Kramnik to kind of come around and see the truth. And just the treatment of David Navara is just terrible, not only by Vladimir Kramnik, but of FIDE as well. Just him being ignored for so long. It's all terrible. It's just a sad situation. Obviously, I'm on the side of David Navara. That is my opinion. I agree with everything he said. I don't think there's much more to say. I genuinely don't know what else to say. This is just a terribly sad situation, and what's sadder is I don't think anything's going to come of this. I think that FIDE statement that we read is going to be the last of this. Do I think that Vladimir Kramnik is going to sue David Navara? He can try. It's not going to, you know, the court are going to reject his defamatory case. It's not going to see the light of court. I think that's just the end of it. I don't think David Navara gets anything in return. I don't think Vladimir Kramnik's going to be banned. I think this is going to keep going. He's going to jump onto his next target and accuse them of cheating. And I think this is just going to. I think in a couple months' time, I'll probably make another video on Vladimir Kramnik and what he's doing next. Yeah, I guess that's the end of the video. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. And yeah, best wishes to David Navara, of course. I really hope he's doing well. He definitely needs all the support he can get. He doesn't have social media, so I can't redirect you guys to anything. But if you are watching this, David, we're all on your side. And yeah, I hope you're doing well. But I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.